I caught my wife Dakota in bed with another man. The moment I stepped into my bedroom, my world shattered. 18 years of marriage and 2 daughters destroyed by her betrayal. I didn't yell. I didn't rage. I recorded it all, cold and calculating. She thought she could get away with it, but she was dead wrong. I uncovered a hidden life, secret meetings, and a trail of deceit. What followed was a ruthless plan for revenge that would make even Hollywood blush. Welcome to my story of love, deceit, and vengeance. My name is Jackson Healy, but most people call me Jack. I can't believe I've been standing in my bedroom doorway for almost 10 minutes now, watching my wife, Dakota, having sex with a guy I've never seen before. I had enough time to record the scene on my iPhone. I even took some pictures. They still didn't notice me, and judging by what was happening on my side of the bed, I had plenty of time to observe. It was getting a bit repetitive. When I thought about it, the guy seemed familiar, maybe because he was a lot like me. He wasn't younger, taller, or in better shape than me. Brown hair, blue eyes, 10 fingers, and 10 toes, just like me. So what was the appeal? I think the attraction was that he wasn't me. It's a cliché, but I returned home a day early from a business trip and found a strange car in the driveway. Why did my wife let her lover park his car in our driveway? We live on a cul-de-sac with 12 other houses. We're a friendly group. Was she not worried someone would find out about her cheating? Finding your wife in bed with another man is, of course, a shock, but what hurt the most was that, in our 18 years of marriage, Dakota had never shown such passion. Our sex life was pretty plain but satisfying, or so I thought. Until a few minutes ago, she never hinted she wanted sex like this. She obviously liked it too. She had never said such words in lust or any other situation. I didn't even know she knew those words. She wasn't saying those words to me, but to her lover. The strangest thing was that I didn't feel intense anger. I had no desire to grab a gun or a bat. I was angry, sad, hurt, and confused, as any husband would be. I think the lack of rage was because I had simply accepted that my marriage was over. She did it, and it ended our marriage. Case closed. While wondering what to do next, I noticed an unopened box of Trojans on Dakota's nightstand. Why have condoms if you're not going to use them? After we had our daughters, Sheridan, 13, and Helena, 11, Dakota made me wear them until I had a vasectomy. She said 2 kids were enough, but I had hoped for a son. I regret not being more assertive about that. I noticed something was missing. Dakota always had 4 photographs on her nightstand. I called it her shrine, but now 2 of them were gone. The biggest one was a family portrait we had done when the girls were very little, and the other was our wedding photo. She left the photos of our daughters in a prominent place for her lover. They were just baby pictures she framed years ago. I wondered where the missing photos went. Maybe I was in shock, but this question became very important to me. After some thought, I realized they should be in her second drawer. Sure enough, there they were. Dakota had a habit of cleaning up before the cleaners arrived. She put everything that was lying around into this drawer. One day I asked her if she thought the cleaners would steal her hairbrush. She gave me a look like I was crazy. At a neighbor's party, I tried to embarrass her about this habit in front of her friends. Instead of laughing with me, they just looked at me like I was the dumbest person on the planet. Of course, you clean the house before the cleaners arrive. Another thought struck me. Maybe by hiding the photos, Dakota was trying to show me some respect. This is hard to believe. Maybe her boyfriend insisted on it. Not knowing exactly why, I carefully and quietly removed the photos from the drawer. I decided it was time to leave, holding the 2 photos. I slipped out of the house since it was only 3 o'clock. I decided to stop by work. I had been gone for several days, and there was probably a stack of papers on my desk that needed sorting. I arrived and went straight to my office. Some colleagues may have noticed me, but I didn't hear a single greeting. I was focused on locking myself in my office, away from everything and everyone else. I closed the door behind me. First, I put the 2 photos on my desk to remind me of something. Well, I don't know exactly what, but I did it anyway. Gathering my courage, I called my longtime friend Anissa Dixon, ESQ. He was a family lawyer, but I once knew him as a rich kid in college. We were roommates. One day I asked him why a rich guy like him lived in a hostel with us poor people. He said his parents wanted him to understand why he was lucky to be rich. He insisted I call him H. When I told him I thought that was pretentious, he simply replied, "Well, that's who I am now." H. Dixon must have moved up in the world because when I called him, I had to go through 3 assistants to get to him. He refused to give me his cell number, saying it was for clients only to track billable hours. It seemed like it never occurred to him to use 2 phones. I thought all pretentious people had at least 2. "Jackson, good to hear from you. How can I help you?" He never called me Jack just to annoy me. "I need your cell phone number, H." "Oh, crap. What happened?" I told him everything. "As far as I know, they're still doing it in my bed right now." "Oh, damn, this is really bad, man. What do you want to do?" "Divorce. Simple and clear. Except I want her and her lover to feel pain." "Well, you're lucky for 2 reasons. First, I'm the best family law attorney in the state. And second, you don't live in one of those no-fault states. I'm sure you want primary custody, but I have to say it's not easy. It's not impossible, but it's not easy either. Another thing you need to understand is that even if we prove adultery, she will most likely receive alimony from you. She's a housewife, and you earn a lot of money. So even in the guilty state, you can get a good hit. Let me do this. I'm going to set my investigators on Dakota and her lover. It will be expensive, but if you want custody, we'll need more than just the fact that she had sex with him in your bed. We need to know everything about her lover and their affair. Do it. I don't care about the price. You should never say that to a lawyer, Jackson." He must have heard my breath catch because he paused and became serious. "Sorry, Jackson. I didn't mean to take this lightly. I don't want you to apologize, H. I want you to be ruthless. I can be ruthless. This may take several weeks. And for this, I need you to behave normally around your wife for a while. Can you do it?" "Yes." I provided him with the information he needed and emailed him the evidence I had. He sent me a prepayment form. I signed up for DocuSign while we were still on the phone and returned it. I went offline as a much more depressed but determined person. A knock on the door brought me out of my state of self-pity. "Come in." My administrative assistant, Franny Grable, entered hesitantly. "Is everything okay, boss?" she asked timidly. "Yes, Franny. Everything is great." I finished my work early and decided to return home. "I know, Jack, but when you brushed past me without returning my greeting or even nodding in acknowledgement, I got worried. Not to mention, you've been here for over an hour." "Sorry, Franny. I just have a lot on my plate." Franny Grable has been my assistant for over 15 years. I hired her at the request of my wife. She was an old friend of Dakota's who had fallen on hard times. Franny's husband died in a work accident. He was a military man, but he was a non-combatant, so he only had a life insurance policy for $12,000. If he had died in a work hazard, Franny would have received another $100,000. And with 2 children, $12,000 was not much. It was hard for her, but I never regretted hiring her because she turned out to be a very competent assistant. "Okay, Jack. I guess I'll go home." She wasn't convinced. She knew me too well. As Franny was about to leave, she noticed the photos on my desk and paused. "What are these new ones?" "Yes. I brought them here to remind myself of what's important," I said. "Oh, that's nice, boss. Have a good evening." "Bye, Franny." I wanted to tell her what was going on because I trusted her, but I remembered what Anissa said about acting normal and left it at that. How can you act normal when you saw your wife with someone else just hours ago? I knew going to a hotel wouldn't work since too many people had seen me. I decided to go home. During the 20-minute drive, I kept thinking about how to act normal. I still had no idea when I pulled up to the garage. Dakota heard my car and met me at the garage door. I saw fear, anxiety, and a bit of anger in her eyes, but she quickly hid them. She gave me her best smile. "Oh my God, Jack, you're home. We were expecting you tomorrow. I thought I'd surprise you. I arrived around 3 and decided to finish the day at the office. We're glad you're home, honey." She kissed me on the cheek. "Dinner will be ready in a few minutes, but there's not much since I wasn't expecting you." "It's okay. I'm not very hungry. I'll change out of this suit." I started up the stairs when the girls caught up with me. They hugged me, squealing and laughing. "We're so glad you're home. We love you, Daddy." "I love you too. I miss you so much when I'm away." At least I'll have them, I thought. Their greeting gave me the courage to act normal for their sake. Freed from the girls, I went to what used to be my bedroom. Everything looked normal. The bed linen smelled fresh and the room was clean. Our bedroom was always neat. Now I knew why. Dakota noticed me staring at her bedside table. "Sorry, honey. I accidentally broke the frames while cleaning. I took them to get fixed," she said. I nodded without looking at her and changed my clothes. At some point, she left. In case you were wondering, she smelled fresh like a daisy, just like every day I came home. My acting skills weren't great because Dakota was nervous. Throughout dinner and the rest of the evening, I mostly avoided her by spending time with the girls and helping them with homework. Dinner, which was usually loud and cheerful, was terribly quiet. The girls suspected something was wrong but didn't press. Dakota simply looked at me with an unreadable expression. If I was going to pretend to be normal like Anissa wanted, I needed to do better. After the girls settled in for the night, I poured myself a drink and lounged in my office chair. Dakota called it the man cave. It was the only room I could call my own, reflecting my tastes. I called it warm, inviting, and comfortable. Dakota called it an embarrassment. I knew I'd have to face her before bed and wondered how best to do this. Dakota solved this for me when she came in, looking worried. Under normal circumstances, Dakota avoided my room. She walked towards the sofa opposite my chair. "Here, little bunny, sit on my lap," I said as lightly as I could and patted my knees. Her face brightened. She quickly jumped off the couch and sat on my lap. I kissed her on the cheek. "Sorry I was so useless at dinner. My trip didn't go as planned, and I have a lot to sort out." She perked up. "It's okay, Jack. I knew something was bothering you. If you give me a chance, tonight I'll make you forget all your work problems." But she didn't make me forget. We made love, but it was the same gentle routine as always. We snuggled a lot, and there were signs of satisfaction on both sides. I thought that was what she wanted. It was completely different from what I had seen before. Dakota hugged me tightly and said, "You know I love you, Jack. I really do. You made my life complete." I almost threw up on the spot. How could she do this? How can someone change so easily? Her lies rolled off her tongue like she had rehearsed them. I realized she had been doing this for a long time. This thought sent a chill down my spine and made my chest feel heavy. A few moments later, I heard her rhythmic breathing, indicating she was already asleep. Less than 8 hours had passed since she fooled around with her lover in this very bed, and she falls asleep like nothing happened. What kind of person can do that? Needless to say, I didn't sleep at all. I pulled myself together to go to work early in the morning. I needed to get out of there before Dakota got up to get the girls ready for school. I left her a short note on the dry erase board in the kitchen that we regularly used for messages. It said I had to leave early for work to start solving the problems I mentioned. Somehow, I managed to act normal for the next 2 weeks, waiting for news from Anissa. I began to feel better as days passed. Maybe this is how liars become good liars, by practicing enough. Dakota, on the other hand, became more anxious. She looked like she had a lot on her mind but never said anything. She was always affectionate and went out of her way to be sensitive. She probably confessed her love to me 25 times a day. She even complimented me on how I dressed. She should have been alarmed by the missing photos. They didn't disappear on their own, but she stuck to the principle of don't ask, don't tell. I hoped this would continue for some time. Franny was also acting strange. She knew me so well that she could detect the slightest changes in my mood and behavior. She kept insisting I talk about it, driving me to irritation, but I remained silent. I just told her I was under pressure at work and that I would be fine. She always knew when I was lying. What also bothered me was that she kept staring at the photographs on my desk. What's the big deal? I came to terms with the fact that I am not a good judge of a woman's mood. I couldn't tell if Franny was sad, worried, or angry. But every time she left my office after looking at the photos, she had a strange expression on her face. I think women are better at this than men. I seriously began to question my sanity. I didn't feel any of the emotions I thought I should feel. I was starting to feel dead inside. Every waking moment, I felt like there was a 50-pound weight on my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I pretended to live. I needed this nightmare to end quickly. At that moment, Anissa called and asked me to come to her office urgently. Yes, we took them by the throat. But here's the hard part, Jackson. I need you to brace yourself. She dated Mr. Dubois a long time ago, even before you were married. According to my information, he bragged about having sex with Dakota on the morning of your wedding, a few hours before the ceremony. He said Dakota told him she was going to give you sloppy seconds on your wedding night. I should have gone berserk, but all I could think to say was, how did your investigators find out about this? It's better if you don't know, Jackson. Much of the really good stuff we won't be able to use in court anyway. And if I weren't such a good lawyer, we might even get into trouble because of this. He laughed, trying to lighten the mood. Damn it, Anissa. What about the kids? I wonder if they are mine. From his look, I realized there was more bad news ahead. That's not all, is it? Holy crap, Anissa. Maybe she's married to him too. You know, one of those people who lead two different lives with two different families? Dubois is married, but not to your wife. He has his own family. He's been married for 10 years and has 3 children, all under 8 years old. Setting him up for a fall will be easy if you're willing to do it. I don't know, Anissa. I don't want to ruin his wife and kids' lives. Well, Jackson, I think you'll be doing his wife and kids a favor if you watch and listen to the video of Dakota and him. He is practically tearing you and his wife to pieces. Dakota doesn't join him in all these conversations, but she doesn't stop him either. We found out he only married his wife because Dakota didn't want to divorce you to be with him. Given everything you've learned, why does she want to stay married to me? We haven't figured that out yet, buddy, but we're working on it. Just give us time. I can't control myself anymore. When can we serve her? In the very near future, Jackson. But I'm working on something worth the wait. Life went on. Dakota was very affectionate. She made the girls behave well. We made love a little more often than before. However, nothing changed in the way we made love. She always looked very happy. I didn't think she was such a good actress that she could pretend to be satisfied all these years. This made her betrayal even more alarming. I was driving myself crazy trying to understand her actions. How could she say she loved me and still cheat? So, I decided to fake it myself until it was over. What was Anissa waiting for anyway? The following Monday, he called me and asked me to come to his office again. Anissa was one of those people who would joke on his deathbed. He never took anything seriously. But looking at him now, I thought he was about to get sick. He nodded slowly. Look, Jack, I'm not sure how to tell you this, but it might change your perspective on custody. They're not mine, are they? We won't know for sure until we do a DNA test. But no, I don't think they're yours. But this is even worse. How much worse can it get, Anissa, if they aren't biologically mine? They know, Jack. What are you talking about? I interrupted sharply. The girls know that Dubois is their real father. My people got video footage of Dubois, Dakota, and the girls having a picnic last Sunday. They called him Dad. He and your wife held hands, kissed, and played games with Sheridan and Helena. Everything went dark. When I came to my senses a few minutes later, I remembered Dakota telling me she was taking the girls to the park. Anissa's paralegal was pressing a cold, wet towel to my forehead. Jackson, you fainted. Let me call the paramedics. No, I'll be fine. I shook my head to clear it. Sorry, Anissa, it's like my whole life has been a scam. Buddy, you just said the magic word. What word? Fraud. You said you want revenge. Did you know that a marriage can be annulled for fraud? We've been married for 18 years, Anissa. How can I get an annulment now? If the marriage was based on fraud, the period doesn't matter. You just need to apply within 4 years of discovering the fraud. It won't be easy, but it's worth a try. If you get an annulment, you won't have to pay alimony. You probably won't have to pay child support either, but it depends on the judge. What? You can't be serious. Child support? Unless we can prove that Dakota and Dubois deliberately deceived you into raising Dubois's children, you might still have to pay. But that's not the main reason for the annulment. If we file for divorce, it won't get much attention. But if we file for an annulment after 18 years of marriage, the tabloids and news outlets will write about it. We will publicly shame them both. This will also help our case for returning any child support you've paid. And here I can get my 40%. Your generosity is touching, I said, tapping my heart. That's not all, Jack. We found some more interesting facts. I listened to everything he had to say, and we began to make plans. By that time, nothing shocked me anymore. When I returned to the office, Franny ambushed me. Jack, what happened to you? You look awful. Let me take you to the doctor. No, Franny. But Jack, I said no, Miss Grable. She was shocked by my tone, but reluctantly left, looking depressed. I didn't care. Not even 30 minutes later, Dakota appeared in the doorway, breathless, wearing high heels and a low-cut dress. She was beautiful. What a loss. Franny called me. She said something happened. I snorted sarcastically, interrupting her. I tried to stay composed, but she noticed the photographs. She looked for them as if she knew where they should be. She took a deep breath and sat down on one of the chairs in front of my desk. She wasn't wearing any panties either. Does she really think this will help? You were there. You saw us. She looked sad, but her words were calm. They cut me deeply. It doesn't mean anything, Jack. It's just a fling. It doesn't compare to what we have together. Tell me something, Dakota. I know it wasn't the first time. How long has this been going on? No, not the first time, honey. But it only lasted a couple of months, she said almost sincerely. 2 months? How many times? Only 3 or 4 times, baby. And never before in our house. I screwed up. It's over. Let's just forget about it. She lied without any guilt, looking me straight in the eye. I realized she had no intention of giving up her boyfriend. Thank you for being honest with me, Dakota. Most cheaters would lie and say it was the first time. But you told me the truth. You gave me the chance to see who you really are, and I appreciate it. I tried to keep a friendly expression. I noticed a slight trembling in her eyelids, but nothing more. She must have sensed something in my tone. Don't do this, Jack. It won't end well for you. You'll be hurt in ways you can't imagine. There's no need for this. Just leave it and let's move on with our lives. I love you. You love me. And we both love the girls. Please, just leave it. It almost sounds like you're threatening me, Dakota. Oh, honey, I'm sorry if it sounded like that. That's not what I meant. What I meant was that you control how much you let my mistakes hurt you. Hurt us. But most of all, Jack, it will hurt Helena and Sheridan. They did nothing wrong. I did. Please, let's talk more about this when you get home tonight. I know I can make you understand. Okay. We'll talk about this in the evening, but now I need to get back to work. She came up to me and kissed me. We are so good together, baby. Don't let my weakness destroy our family. She turned and walked out as if she had done nothing wrong. I sat there in shock for about 5 minutes before pressing the intercom button. Miss Grable, please come in. How long have you known Miss Grable? You told her about the photographs, didn't you? Silence. She wiped her eyes with a handkerchief, sitting in a chair and looking down. I'm waiting. She looked up. So I'm Miss Grable now, Jack, after all these years. Yes, and for now I'm Mr. Healy. Are you going to fire me, John? I mean, Mr. Healy, you know I really need this job. She was sobbing. Not if I get a truthful answer from you and you agree to testify under oath to my lawyer. What's your option? I've known for a long time. I reached out in disgust and picked up the office phone. Hi, Georgina. I need to talk to William about a problem. William Bill Cody was the Vice President of Human Resources. Franny interrupted me. Please don't do this. I'm so sorry, Mr. Healy. I knew about this even before you hired me. What did you know, Miss Grable? She returned to her silence. I slammed my palm hard on the table. She jumped in surprise. I'm losing patience. You know about her? About her activities? I'm tired of these games, Miss Grable. I'm tired of asking questions. Tell me the truth now. I saw her trying to decide whether to tell me everything. I won't accept anything but the complete truth, Franny. Please, Franny, you owe me this, at least for helping you. I'm trying to understand why you betrayed me like this. It took her a few moments to pull herself together. She was close to hyperventilating. Then she told me everything. Byron Du Bois was her cousin. She knew about his relationship with Dakota, which began in high school. She knew that Helena and Sheridan were not my children, and that Du Bois fathering the girls was intentional. Each revelation was another dagger in my heart. But these knives weren't just because of my lost love for Dakota. They were from Franny's betrayal. For some reason, her betrayal hurt more. I trusted you completely, Franny. Now I was emotional. Why was Dakota so desperate for me to hire you? To look after you? She wanted me to let her know if you got any closer to finding out about her other life. She lowered her head. Is she embarrassed now? She also wanted me to let her know if you ever cheated on her." Her voice was a whisper. "Oh, for God's sake. Do you have any idea why she married me in the first place, Franny? She was just here, confessing her love and begging us to stay married. You won't believe it, but she really loves you," Franny said. I chuckled bitterly. "That's hard to believe now." "It's true, Mr. Healy. I asked her this question many years ago. She told me she loves you but also needs Dubois." "She ruined my life because she wanted your cousin," I exclaimed, shocked. Franny shook her head. "Why, the kids?" I asked. "Jack, I mean, Mr. Healy." I pointed my finger at her, signaling her to continue. "Are you sure you want to know? It will be worse than you can imagine." "People tell me that all the time." "How much worse can it get, Franny?" I asked. Her tears stopped, and she looked at me with pity. I knew she wouldn't lie to me. I had to know the truth. "Dakota told me she asked Byron to get her pregnant so her children would have an alpha bloodline," she said, pausing to gauge my reaction. "I guess that means I'm a beta," I said. "Yes, she wanted the kids to have alpha genes but be raised by a kind and compassionate beta like you." Byron agreed with her. She told me she needs both an alpha and a beta to live fully. I couldn't help but laugh. It was too ridiculous. I let Franny go, telling her I was making an appointment for her to see Anissa and that I expected the whole truth from her. She nodded and headed toward the door. "What do you want me to tell Dakota, Mr. Healy?" "You can call me Jack, Franny. I really don't care what you tell her. It doesn't matter anymore. Good night." I stopped her. "Wait, not that I care, but do you think I'm a beta?" She started crying again. "Yes, but it's not a bad thing." Miserable, she sobbed and hurried out, closing the door behind her. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wasn't going home. I took a chance that my friend Butch was still in the office and called her. I was lucky and went to her office. I have to tell you about Butch. Her name is Cheyenne Gillette, and she's the Director of Information Technology. She's a retired U.S. Navy commander. Rumor has it that she was the first woman to qualify for Navy SEAL training, but a knee injury ended her chances. She's tough and doesn't get close to anyone at work. She's a proud lesbian, preferring to be called queer as long as you smile when you say it. I didn't pretend to understand any of this, but I was her friend, probably her only friend at work. This happened because one day I saw some jerk bothering her outside the break room. When she had enough, she pushed him away. I believe in live and let live, but this guy crossed the line. He deserved what he got. When she saw me, all the color drained from her face. She realized she could be in deep trouble. I calmly said, "You know, Miss Gillette, he shouldn't have pushed you. Are you okay?" She smiled, whispered something in the guy's ear, and said to me, "Call me Butch. All my friends do." 3 days later, the guy was fired and never heard from again. That was the end of it. We remained friends. I thought I screwed up when I accidentally called her Butch in a meeting. You could have heard a pin drop. I thought my career was over, but she replied, "Okay, Sundance," and everything was fine. If you were Butch's friend, you were a friend for life. "Damn, Sundance, you look like crap," she said, greeting me with the standard nickname. "What's happening? There are rumors about a lot of drama in your world." "That's putting it mildly, Butch." I sank into a chair, emotionally devastated. "I need to rest somewhere for a while. Can I stay with you and Becky?" Becky was her partner for 17 years. "Of course, Jack. I will need to coordinate this with her, but I don't see a problem. We have plenty of space. Care to tell me about it?" I explained the situation to her. I didn't leave out much. When I told her what Franny had done and that I was going to fire her, she raised her hand to stop me. "You can't fire her, Jack. At the very least, you'll risk a wrongful termination lawsuit. It might be worse if she says you're taking revenge on her for personal issues not related to work. I don't know if she can do that, but you can't afford to risk it." "Bullshit, Butch. So she can just set me up after what she did?" "Relax, Jack. I have a better idea. Just make an agreement with Bill about her transfer. I need a new administrator." Butch gave me a wicked smile. "And raise her salary. Then she can't say you were stalking her. You said she needs money." I laughed. This was the first good news and felt like the start of my recovery. You see, Butch had been here for about 5 years and had gone through 13 administrative assistants. And that's not even counting those who quit after learning they'd work for her. The first few tried to file complaints and lawsuits, But none succeeded because Butch didn't treat anyone differently than she treated herself. She kept impeccable records and didn't tolerate complaints among the staff. She was known as the Angel of Death because if you worked for her, you were a dead man walking. That evening at their house, I told the whole story to Becky. Her reaction was a constant, sympathetic shake of her head. Butch seemed to get even angrier. I was glad she was on my side. After finishing the story, I told them about my conversation with Franny after Dakota left. "Oh, that quiet girl will really like working for me, Jack." Butch laughed. I decided to ask them about Franny's comment about the beta. "This is a masculine trait, right?" Butch rolled her eyes. "Of course. You're a beta, Jack. Do you really want to know what a beta male is? He's an amazing lover because he cares about his partner's needs. He's faithful, a wonderful father, and can have conversations that aren't about sex. A beta male cares deeply about his family, sometimes does laundry and cleans up after himself. He's reliable, not a control freak, and isn't threatened by his wife's independence. Franny wasn't insulting you, she was complimenting you." "But what about Dakota's comment about the alpha gene?" Becky spoke up. "You'll have to ask Dakota about that. In any case, you will have to for your peace of mind. I don't understand her motives, but I can understand her thought process. Do you think Butch is alpha or beta?" "Definitely an alpha." "You're wrong. She may be an alpha at work, but at home she's a beta. Why do you think I've been with her all these years? At home she's like a beta." I looked at Butch, surprised. She smiled wryly and nodded. "That's right, Jack. I'm the alpha in our partnership. Butch allows me to control our relationship both in and out of bed. She's an alpha at work, which lets her be a beta at home. She needs both to feel complete. The truth is, we all move between alpha and beta traits depending on our circumstances, unless you're a sociopath." Butch's eyes were wet as she looked at Becky with love. I remembered a similar look from Dakota. I wondered if it was true. Men can do the same, but women are usually better at it. I think Dakota was telling Franny the truth when she said she needed both of us to feel whole. At that moment, Butch stood up, sat on Becky's lap, and they began to kiss passionately. I started to leave. "Don't go, Jack," they said at the same time, laughing. "We'll behave." "It's true, Jack. Becky is my soulmate, but she runs the show here. How do you feel about all this?" It took me a while to collect my thoughts. This insight was new and made my brain hurt. But I began to understand the contradiction in my life. You know, after listening and observing your relationship, I really believe that she loves me and needs me. Instead of being honest about what she needed at the start of our relationship, she turned my life into a lie. She did it for her own selfish reasons. She knew I wouldn't agree to it. To get what she wanted, she lied to me. I'll never forgive her for this. So what's next, Jack? What about your children? They love you too, and you love them. You can't just turn them off because of what their mother did, Butch said. I don't know, Butch. I just don't know. I know Dakota and I are getting a divorce, and nothing will change my mind. It might be petty, and it could end my relationship with Helena and Sheridan, but I'm going to hurt Dakota and her lover. And it will hurt badly. What do you think about Franny's role in all this? Becky stayed silent, but Butch spoke up. In some ways, Franny's betrayal seems even worse to me. Dakota's actions were driven by her own flawed ideas about love, need, and compassion. But Franny's betrayal was calculating and unforgivable. Leave it to me. I nodded, knowing they understood. I'm going to bed. Thanks for letting me stay here. My phone buzzed all night with texts and calls from Dakota. I didn't read, listen to, or respond to any of them. The next day at the office, I worked on transferring Franny. She was set to start as Butch's assistant on Monday. Until then, she was sent home with her salary. I was still staying with Butch and Becky, and they didn't seem in a hurry to get rid of me. I ignored all of Dakota's attempts to contact me. I instructed security to keep her away from the office and parking lot. A few days later, an unexpected visitor came to my office. It was Montana, Dakota's older sister. I forgot to mention Montana to security. Montana never treated me warmly, and I probably didn't treat her well either. She always had a perpetual grin, like she knew something I didn't. Without an assistant, she showed up unannounced in my office with her signature grin. What do you need, Montana? Can I at least come in and sit down, Jack? Of course, but don't get too comfortable. You won't be here long. I pointed her to a chair. Look, Jack, I know we haven't been the best of friends, but please listen to me for a few minutes and then I'll leave." There was still a hint of arrogance in her voice. "You know she loves you, Jack. She'll do anything to fix her mistake. Do you believe she loves you?" I tried not to laugh, but couldn't help it. "You know, Montana, I believe she loves me, but it doesn't matter. I feel nothing but contempt and disgust for her. Anything else? I'm really busy." "You're an idiot, Jack. You always have been. I don't know what she saw in you." "Well, at least we agree on something, Montana." "I don't know what she saw in me either," I said with as much disgust as I could muster. "I didn't come to argue, Jack. Since you won't talk to her, she wrote this letter for you." She handed me a thick white envelope. I took it and saw Dakota's handwriting. "For my dear Jack." I stood up, walked to the shredder, and placed the unopened letter in it, keeping my eyes on Montana the whole time. Now a grin was on my face. "You're a stupid, childish boy, Jack. You're bringing a lot of pain on yourself and your family," she said, stomping toward the door. "Hey, Montana, before you go, do you want to tell me about Brockton? Bozeman?" She froze. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her arrogance gone, voice desperate. "Surely your husband Troy would be interested." "No, Jack, please. This has nothing to do with Troy. I was just trying to help Dakota. She really loves you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She knew the end was near for her. "If you don't tell Troy everything or try to hide the truth about your other life, he'll get all the evidence I have, and I have a lot of it. He'll get it either way. But since I'm such a nice guy, I'm giving you a week to come clean to Troy. But if by the end of the week he doesn't come to me in person and say he doesn't care about all this, he will get everything," I said. "Jack, please. I know you don't believe me, but I really love Troy. He means everything to me." "Yes, I've heard that before." In about 5 minutes, Montana went from an arrogant person to a sad child. I even felt a little guilty. "No matter how strange it may seem to you, Montana, I believe you. That's why I'm giving you a week. If I didn't believe you loved him, he would simply receive a large package at work tomorrow." "Jack, no, I beg you. Are your 2 boys really his children, Montana?" "Please, Jack, you don't understand. It's not what you think. Please, let me explain." "Looks like I got my answer. You have a week. Goodbye, Montana. Please close the door when you leave." I started going through the papers on my desk. I couldn't look at her anymore. I didn't really know Troy that well, but he deserved to know. Montana, who was a couple of years older than Dakota, was living the same lifestyle. Maybe Dakota got the idea from her, or maybe they both got it from their mother, or from Cosmo. Who knows? It didn't matter. I heard the door close. I picked up the phone. "Yes, Anissa. Burn them. Music to my ears, buddy. Music to my ears. Jackson, you're going to have to make some decisions, and they won't be easy." "None of this has been easy so far, Anissa. What now?" "I think an annulment is a win-win option. Based on the evidence we've collected and Franny's sworn statement, it's not a problem. We must file your petition along with the annulment affidavit and serve it to her. It couldn't be easier. I'm going to make it loud. I'll ensure that all interested media receive the information. But if we do this, you will give up all visitation and custody rights to your children. You won't have to pay alimony or child support. It will be like the girls were never in your life. Unless, of course, Dakota and she allow you to visit them, which is unlikely after we burn their carcasses. I can't let you leave me halfway, Jackson. Either you stay in this until the end, or we just file for divorce and you leave much poorer. What will you choose, partner?" Damn, things are only getting worse. "Anissa, I need to think. I'll contact you in a couple of days." "Okay, Jackson, but I'm ready to go now. Let me know." I loved my girls. At first, when I heard them call Dubois daddy, I was angry with them. Then I realized they only knew they had 2 dads who loved them. It wasn't their fault. Who knows what Dakota told them? To be honest, I didn't know which way to go. I discussed it with Butch and Becky that evening. They didn't give me an answer one way or another. I couldn't blame them. I was leaning toward divorce because of the girls. Then Dakota made my decision easier. She talked to Montana. What a shock. After work, I went for a drink at the Horse's Head Bar and Grill. I had no idea why it was called that. There wasn't a single thing related to horses, but it was usually quiet and I needed to sort out my thoughts. But this didn't happen. My thoughts were rudely interrupted. "Hello, Jack." "Dakota, we need to talk. But first I want to show you something. Please come outside with me." She didn't wait for an answer. She simply headed toward the door. What the hell? I put a 20 in my glass, waved to the bartender, and went to follow her. Once outside, she pointed to a Chevrolet SUV. Do you see them, Jack? I glanced around the parking lot. I saw Dubois with Sheridan and Helena sitting inside. Dubois had a sour expression on his face, but he did not look directly at me. He looked straight ahead, but I clearly saw my girls. They looked at me desperately and cried. Dubois started the engine and drove away. God, what has Dakota done? In a voice full of venom, she said, If you and I don't come to an understanding right here and now, Jack, this will be the last time you see your daughters. If you divorce me, you know I'll get custody. Oh, you'll get visitation rights, but I'll do my best to make sure that doesn't happen. I will blame you for destroying our family. By the time I'm done, they'll never want to see you again. Despite everything that had happened, I was stunned by her audacity, not for doing it, but for dragging Sheridan and Helena into it. What do you want, Dakota? I want us to be together again, Jack. I want my family back. You just have to come to terms with the reality of Byron being in my life. I know they are not my daughters, Dakota. Of course they are your daughters, Jack. I love two men, and I never knew for sure who the biological father was, but I knew you were the best man to raise them. You're still lying to me, Dakota. I can always tell when you lie. That's not true, Jack. Why do you think that? Because your lips move when you lie. It took her a moment to realize I was being sarcastic. Get away from me, you lying, vindictive woman. See you in court. I headed straight to my car and called Anissa. Go ahead, another marriage, Anissa. I'm with you until the end, and burn that piece of crap Dubois. I hung up before he could answer. It was clear that no matter what choice I made, Dakota would use the girls against me. I had no choice. It was time to end this. Maybe in a few years I could talk some sense into Sheridan and Helena. I had no idea what might happen after Dakota was served, so I moved out of Butch's place and checked into a hotel. I had already taken care of all the administrative and financial matters. Anissa was going to serve her with a temporary restraining order. He told me it would be in place for a few weeks, and then we would have a hearing to make it permanent. Of course, in our state, permanent meant 3 years. But Anissa had high hopes that she would violate it by coming to my work to curse me, or better yet, hit me. He thought it would be great if she hurt me because it would make the order a sure thing. 2 days later, Dakota did exactly as Anissa had hoped. She rushed past the security desk, burst into my office, and started throwing things while swearing like a sailor. She slapped me several times before the guards subdued her and took her into custody for the police. Anissa was disappointed she didn't hurt me more, but figured we could make the order permanent anyway. A divorce hearing was scheduled in 60 days. Anissa made sure all the media knew when and where it would happen. Dakota's lawyer tried to have the hearing closed to the public, but the judge, who was up for re-election, denied their request. Anissa was right. An annulment was a win-win. He dragged out the hearing, adding as much drama as possible. I got an annulment. He got a talk show appearance, and the gossip media got increased ratings. 6 days after talking with Montana, her husband Troy visited me. Damn. I'm just not as strong as you, Jack. I love her and want to give her a chance. Our children are grown and will soon be leaving for college, but I still need them in my life. I'm too old to start over. Couldn't you keep the evidence to yourself? If I see it, I won't be able to get past it. There was confusion in his voice. Maybe I'll need it later. You know the children aren't yours, right? She told you. He nodded. Troy, is she still planning on seeing her second husband? He shook his head but looked down. My boys, Jack. I am their father, no matter who the sperm donor was. I can't give them up. She says she'll give up this lifestyle if I stay with her. I think she really loves me. That's different. I understand, Troy. Maybe you are stronger than both of us. I just can't leave it alone. He shook my hand and left. I never saw him or Montana again. I heard they moved out of state after their children graduated. On the same day I met Troy, Mrs. Byron Dubois received a thick package from FedEx. Things went quickly for Dubois. When the court ordered him to pay back my child support a few months later, he had nothing left. Anissa nearly had a heart attack when he found out he'd only get 40% of $250 a month. He was so angry he took back his promise of a 5% discount. He calmed down when I asked him how much he got for his talk show. About 6 months after the annulment, I contacted Dakota to talk. Everyone told me I needed closure. We met at the Horse's Head. Are you kidding me? After what you did to Byron and me, it'll be a cold day in hell before you see my girls. If you whisper anything to them, I will get a restraining order so fast your head will spin. After what I did to you? You're a little delusional. I had to take a deep breath because shouting wasn't an option. What if I lift the restraining order and agree to fund the girls' college education? I know you and Byron are struggling. They aren't to blame for anything. I want them to have a good college opportunity. I saw she was softening. I don't know, Jack. Listen, Dakota, I'll even babysit if you want to go away for the weekend. I know they're old enough not to need it, but I just want to keep them in my life and show them I still love them. And I won't lie to them. I'll explain that you wanted a different lifestyle, and we decided it was better to go our separate ways. Let me think about it. Her tone dropped to almost normal. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions, Dakota? It bothers me, and I'd like answers. Please tell me the truth. It won't change anything that's happened. Whatever, Jack. She started to get impatient, which infuriated me, but I needed to keep calm. Why? You ruined my life. For what? She sighed. You did this to yourself, Jack. She saw I was about to explode, raised her hands, and continued. I know. My actions separated us. But you used scorched earth on me. You tore out my soul and fed it to the wild dogs. What did you expect from me when I found out? I thought we would talk about it like adults and figure it out somehow. You know Troy and Montana are still together, right? They talked and solved their problems. Montana told him she would leave her lover to try and make their marriage normal. You told me I had to accept Byron in your life. She looked hurt. I didn't mean to hurt you, Jack. You have to admit, until you saw Byron and me, you thought you had a wonderful life. I helped you find this life. I loved you deeply. My heart broke when you left me. Why did you need both of us? I don't know, Jack. She took a deep breath. My sister did it, and some of my friends did too. This lifestyle is becoming more acceptable. Then why not discuss it with me openly before we got married? And did you actually have sex with Dubois on our wedding day? First of all, who told you that? It's a complete lie. I would never do that. She looked incredulous. Secondly, if I told you, would you have agreed to the wedding? No, you wouldn't. And I loved you very much, but sometimes I just wanted sex. Don't get me wrong. I loved what you did to me in bed, but you just didn't have it in you to take me without worrying about hurting me. I realized she was sincere, even if delusional. It was clear I wouldn't get a satisfactory answer, so I moved on. Why did you have to have sex with him in our bed? I know you won't believe me, but that was the first and only time we ever did it in our house, let alone our bed. It raised my eyebrows, but I believed her. Why that time? She sighed sadly. Byron and his alpha tendencies. He just needed to push, and in a moment of weakness, I gave in. Stupid. She was close to tears. By the way, about alpha and beta, leave it alone, Jack. You were a wonderful husband, father, and lover. Then why have children? And don't tell me it wasn't intentional. I know better. She looked guilty before answering. Jack, you're a middle manager in a mid-sized company. You drive a minivan. Your idea of fun is sitting at home in your man cave watching sports on TV. Byron's idea of fun is to charter a plane and fly to a game or Vegas for the weekend. He drives Corvettes and used to own a successful business. His lifestyle is intoxicating but not sustainable. Yes, but you're with him, not me. I'm afraid it won't last long. Living with that arrogant jerk full-time is very different from having him around part-time. Besides, he's a terrible father. Just as I suspected. I don't feel sorry for you, Dakota. What a lousy situation. You made your own bed. Listen, Jack. I know I messed up big time with that stunt at the bar with the girls. It was stupid of me. I know. I was desperate and felt I had nothing to lose. God, how I wish I could undo that part, if not everything else. She fell silent for a moment. As for me, I didn't feel any better about this conversation. I was ready to leave. Jack, wait. She grabbed my hand. I still love you, and I always will. If you come back to me, I promise everything will work out. I'll never see Byron again, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I pulled my hand away from her, stood up, and looked down at her. Sorry, Dakota. It's too late for that. Thank you for meeting with me. Think about what I said about the girls. Goodbye, Dakota. Jack, wait. Please don't leave. I need you in my life. I didn't even look back. I never received a response from Dakota about my proposal for the girls. I didn't know if she was still with Du Bois or living on the streets. I didn't care. But the uncertainty about Helena and Sheridan gnawed at me, sometimes driving me into a frenzy. They were innocent pawns in this mess. Did I do the right thing? I was sitting at my favorite neighborhood dive bar, Emilio's. I was already sipping my second Jack and soda when Emilio put another one in front of me and shook his head. Almost 2 years had passed since the annulment, and I was still feeling sorry for myself. I knew that if I didn't tip so well, he would have kicked me out long ago. Every evening when I came in, which was almost every day, he greeted me the same way. "Amazing! Here comes Mr. Sunshine. Try not to suck the life out of my place again today, okay, Jack?" Apparently, he felt I wasn't the life of the party. Drinks paid for by the lady at the end of the bar. He jerked his head to the left. "Are you going to go cry on her shoulder and make a fool of yourself? She'll run away like everyone else and it'll cost me money, you idiot." He walked away, muttering to himself. And here I thought Emilio had replaced Anissa as my best friend. I looked back and saw Franny approaching. That was a surprise. I stood frozen, staring at her. I'd only seen Franny at the office a couple of times. I tried not to acknowledge her existence, but one day she cornered me near the break room. "I'm not leaving, Jack. This bitch can fire me if she wants, but I'm not giving her a reason. I won't give you that pleasure." Then she walked away. I immediately went to Butch's office, fuming. Why is this woman still here? "Calm down, Sundance. I treat her the same as any other assistant I've ever had. She's simply the best. She handles everything I throw at her. If she fails, she fails. But Franny will stay as long as she delivers." And there she stood before me, still Butch's assistant. It was definitely a record. Her resilience finally killed my hatred for her. I simply saw her as an invisible part of a past life. "Hello, Jack. How are you?" When I didn't answer, she continued, "Do you think we could talk?" I paused for a long time. Maybe it was time. "Yes, Franny, I think we can. Thanks for listening to One Infidelity Hit. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop us a like."